Hello, I'm KilogolfTwo Charlie, also licensed as LZ1AMA, and today we're going to talk about my favorite portable HF antenna and what it takes to make one just like it. Stay tuned and subscribe for more if you like this kind of videos. So very often I'll do portable operation in the parks. I started when I was living in New York and I really didn't have the space for a great antenna at home, and I figured if I go to the park and take some wire and take some poles and use the trees there, I could do something better that I could do at home. And I found out that's actually true. I can run the same kind of power I can run at home, but I can have a much better receive antenna and much more efficient antenna for getting out better and hearing weaker signals. A very important component of a portable HF antenna is the support that you're going to use. For example, if you go to the park, you might decide to depend on trees, but they're not always dependable. You might not have the right kind of tree for getting your wire in them, and also it might be quite difficult to get it there. So I prefer to have something that I can depend on and I know I will have for certain, which is a pole for supporting the antenna. The pole that I am using is a very cheap Chinese fishing pole. Originally started at about 13 meters in length, once it's expanded of course, but the first few sections of it broke, so I think now it's about 10 to 11 meters, and that still works pretty well. To set up my antenna, I take the cap off of the pole and I start pulling out the elements. I will start with just some of the top ones here for demonstration purposes. I think that will make it clear enough. I pull out an element, I lock it in. I pull out another one, I lock it in. I have something to start with right now, basically. What I use for the antenna, for the radiating element, is just some wire, and I prefer insulated copper wire for that. Insulated, so it's not affected by the pole as much. And this, by the way, is a carbon pole, so it might detune the antenna a bit, but I don't care. It is cheaper than the fiberglass pole when I order it from China. What I do basically, I take one end of my wire and I attach it to the top of the pole and I secure each section with masking tape. The reason I use masking tape and not duct tape or scotch tape is because it is less sticky. It doesn't leave residue on the pole like the others do. And that residue can start running down the pole and cause problems, so you don't want that. Basically, I put the top of the wire to the top of the pole and I secure it. Actually, don't even need that much tape to secure it. Just even a piece of this will do. Then I go to where the next connection of the two elements are, put the wire there, and I secure it there as well. From there on, I usually skip one connection, so the next joint of them I won't secure. This is mostly for speed. If you have high winds or bad weather, you do want to secure it there as well. Then I would secure it over here, again using the masking tape. This can be done very quickly in the field. It's a little bit harder to do at home, because I don't have a lot of space to work with. Now, securing the wire to the pole achieves two things here. First of all, I do not want this wire to be weighing at the tip of the pole. This pole was not built for that. It will break if the tip supports the whole length of wire and the whole weight of that length of wire. That's why I distribute the weight by attaching the wire in different places on the pole. So each place has to support only a short length of wire. The other thing I achieve by securing the wire exactly at where the two pieces of the pole join is that if it tries to collapse, the tape will stop it there. And I found that it is much more stable that way. Keep in mind, I operate portable for only a few hours. If you are going to leave the system for longer or overnight, I do not recommend using any sort of tape at all, because it will cause problems at the joints of the pole. It will melt, the sun will destroy it, so don't use that. Just use some sort of clamps with some rubber or something to protect the pole from the metal clamps that you're using. Okay, And then once I'm done operating, it is very simple to remove the wire from the pole. Just rip the masking tape and collapse. By securing it every 2 elements, also it's much faster to break apart. Now if you have trouble getting the end of the masking tape, you can just rip the wire from the masking tape and then remove the masking tape separately. See, this tip on the pole used to be much thinner. Well, when I had several other sections, but those are gone because they really can't support this kind of wire, even when secured properly. They're just not fit for that. Not for using it many times at least. The first few times it will work. Now, one more comment about the wire that I'm using. I didn't mention what happens on the top end. I should talk about what happens on the bottom end. The simplest and cheapest thing you can do is get a SO239 chassis connector that mates to a PL259 connector and solder the end of the wire to the center pin of the connector. Now, what I've created here is a vertical antenna using this pole, and as many of you know, a vertical antenna requires having a good ground plane. To provide the ground plane, I carry some radios with me that are pre-cut and have already connectors applied to them with a bolt that can be threaded through here. I don't really need to secure the nut usually because I'm operating only for a few hours, so I just place the bolt through the hole here and run the radios. And I usually run 4 radios. If I'm staying longer, I might run 8 radios, and I found this enough for a short portable operation. How well does this antenna work? Well, I use it mostly on 20 meters and 40 meters, and I use it with a tuner connected directly after this connector. That way, I don't have any losses on my coax to high SWR, and I can tune any portion of the 20 and 40 meter band with it, no problem. I can work all of Europe using this antenna, and I'm located in Eastern Europe any time of the day. I haven't really made any US connections with it yet, but I operate only for 2-3 hours, usually in mountains, and the terrain is very often blocking me from having low angle of radiation. So I'm happy with the kind of local and medium distance connections that I'm making with it. In fact, it is easier to make medium distance connections than it is to make local connections because it's a vertical antenna and tends to have low angle of radiation and not so much NVIS kind of radiation. Okay, so that's the antenna I use for portable operations. I hope you find it useful. I like it because it is very cheap to build, requires only one support, only one piece of wire for the radiator, and a few more pieces of wire for the ground. The pole was very cheap to get, the wire is cheap, it's an easy setup, it's a very fast setup because I don't like spending an hour to set up a full portable operation when I'll be operating for only 2-3 hours. It just doesn't make sense. So speed of deployment and breaking it apart are very important also. It is a very light system as well. Now these days I do portable activations with my car, but I used to do it with a bicycle. So I would ride the bicycle to the park where I'm going, and I'll load up the radio, the batteries, the wire, the tuner, everything in a backpack, including the pole, and everything, the whole 100-watt station with batteries for running for about 4 hours fit into a backpack and wasn't too heavy for me to bike that way to the park. And that really extends the opportunities you can have when operating portable. I hope you liked this video, and if you'd like to see more videos like it, please subscribe to the channel. 7-3 and all the best from Kilo Golf 2 Charlie, also licensed as LZ1 AMA. See you next time.